Hi, I'm Woodworker Anonymous, and welcome to my crazy, insane, super modified workbench. This thing is like nothing you've ever seen before, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour of it. Try to hit all the modifications. Just to let you know, this thing was not really built as a woodworking workbench, even though that's what I use it for primarily now. Originally, when I built this, I was interested in making a concrete countertop for our master bedroom vanity, which we did, and it turned out great. And to be honest with you, what I needed to make something like that was I needed a very strong, very flat surface that I could create a mold on, pour concrete, and then be done with it. So that was done. Had enough of the concrete countertop business. It's a lot of work. It's very heavy, all that. And so this just kind of became the garage workshop workbench. Become very much involved in the woodworking over the years, and this has gone through a ton of modifications. So just kind of want to show you what they are. Originally, this thing was on wheels. This thing is incredibly heavy. It was even hard to move, even on the casters. So anyway, I decided to permanently put it in a spot and jack it up on blocks and level it so that it is exact same height as my table saw. So the table saw can go right up next to it and be the perfect outfeed table. I can run 4 bay sheets through plywood through here by myself without a problem. And that was great advantage right there in and of itself. So basically it's a melamine top, which is what you needed for casting concrete. But melamine turns out to be great for woodworking too, because it's very slick surface, when you're gluing up projects, you're assembling projects, the glue gets on the table. It's not a problem at all. The glue will harden and basically just peel right off. I mean, you just have to knock it with your fingernail and it comes right off. Nothing will stick to this. I mean, once you've like scratched or marred the surface, it will start to hold some things, but it's very durable. This is only the second surface I've put on it, and I've had this for at least 10 years now. So first one did get pretty well destroyed. I will tell you that. Anyway, so melamine is great. I kept it on there even though I turned it into a woodworking bitch. And then one of the things I added to it was on the sides. You see these white dry erase board type plywood doors. It helps keep the dust out because the dust these are shelves underneath. You know, this was a giant plywood box. Probably 5 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood here, double thickness on the ends, double thickness on the spine down the middle, double thickness on a rib through the center, and then it was like, that was all like dadoed, glued, screwed, and bolted together. It was perfectly flat and level to the factory edge of the plywood. Then I took 2 sheets of MDF and then capped it with the sheet of melamine. And you know that MDF and melamine, you know how heavy that is, right? Plus like the 4 or 5 sheets of plywood underneath and everything else. The bench alone it's got to be 500 plus, and maybe, you know, certainly more with all the tools in it. So anyway, so there's a whole bunch of like shelving here, and like I said, it's spined in the middle. So there's a bunch of shelves on this side too, also covered with some sliding doors. Sliding doors were added recently because of the dust, and it's very simple. I just took some ripped down 2x4s, made a frame out of it, ripped a groove, you know, some grooves in the bottom so that this little dry erase board would slide in there, and it works great. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It keeps most of the dust out. It also makes it much more pleasant to look at when there's a bunch of tools hanging in there and all like crammed up in there. It wasn't pretty. So number one, it's better to look at. Number two, everybody that drives down the street can't see all the tools I have. So it served a lot of purposes, to be honest. I put some dog holes in the top. I really did find a need for that. You know, I have a clamping edge here, and a clamp too. But that's, you know, you need some other things than that. So I did put the dog holes in. I bought some of these dogs from Rockler, these little fairly plastic pegs. They work really well, actually. So pretty happy with them. They're very cheap. I actually bought some holdfasts right there. They work awesome in there as well. I was worried about how they would work with the MDF and the Melamine, but it seems to work fine. It holds the wood down perfectly. It works just like it would like a regular wooden workbench. Added a Craig. I guess it's like their version of the T-Track. It's a little bit thicker. It's much heavier duty. It's good for putting in their little clamping system. It really can exert a lot of pressure without like pulling out. So it's very robust T-Track. Only on that one edge. I don't use it that often, but when I am assembling large panels with pocket hole screws, that is very convenient. So that's that. Obviously, you can see the hose coming out here, so I have a vacuum in there. I ran power to this thing with a gigantic 10 gauge, 100-foot long extension cord that plugs in over here, runs around the perimeter of my garage. I have a little cable channel management system, takes it over there so nobody trips over it. Comes in that side of the workbench and comes down here along the inside of that spine. And I have it plugged into this 8 outlet like power strip. And that works really well. I plug almost any tool I have in there. I don't plug in my power saw to that, my table saw. I'll use a dedicated circuit for that, but I've never tripped a breaker on this thing. And so since I had the power in here, and since I use this table for basically everything, every project I make and assemble, I was like, sure would be nice to have the vacuum. So I bought a small vacuum, shop vac, that has a very powerful motor actually. I think it's 5 horsepower. It's Vac-Master. Got this thing off of Amazon, of course. It's got a nice small footprint, but it's really super powerful. And to be honest with you, it was so good that I actually rigged another one up to power my dust deputy, which goes into this giant trash can. The fact that it has a very small capacity has absolutely no bearing in this particular setup. But that's not about the workbench. So anyway, so also, hey, I'm constantly assembling stuff here with my nail gun, and had the Porter cable pancake compressor, loud as hell. Pain in the ass to like drag out and get it set up. And I said it sure would be nice if I could get like a small compressor that would fit in here, put it right inside the workbench. And so I went and looked around. Of course, I looked all over the internet, but Lowe's had the perfect one. This was sitting right at the Lowe's, and I think it's got a 2.5 gallon capacity on it. So you're not going to do spray painting with it or anything like that. You're going to be driving impact chisels or anything like that, but it's perfect for the brad gun, and it's insanely quiet. These new generation of air compressors, these quiet ones, holy moly, you can barely hear it. I mean, my old Porter cable shook the house and everybody had to run out of the basic room. This is awesome. So I mounted a little hose reel down here. It's got like 30 feet of it. So this is great. So right next to the garage door, it's real easy to run it out and top off the tires in the cars whenever they get low or whatever. But yeah, keep my brad guns, some of them down here. Got some other things too. But yeah, you just flip that switch over there. This thing turns on, powers up. Pull out my gun, and I'm ready to go. One of the other things I added was a tool well. This tabletop used to be a little bit wider. It came over here. I ripped it off, and I added a tool well to this side since I couldn't really add one to the middle because of the way my workbench is set up. Tool well is awesome. Filled up with tools right away. Using it. It also fills up with dust like really fast. And of course, then you got to vacuum the dust out. But you don't want to take every tool out of the tool well, so you're trying to vacuum the dust with the tools in there, and then you're sucking tools out, like little drivers and stuff like that. So yeah, it became a problem. So to solve that, I cut the top of this tool well off. This tool well used to be just where this lid is now. So I cut it down 3/4, built some lids, some basic frames that were pocket holed together. It's got a little plexiglass top that's screwed to the underside, and it's on a piano hinge. So I can put, like, you know, basic tools in here, your marking, measuring, screwdriver, you know, spare chisel, you know, utility knife. And then I also had this brain flash. Wait, man, it'd be great to have like little containers of screws and you know, brad nails. So I found some old like cedar wood that I had used to fit through a closet one time. I just built some basic box joint boxes real quick, and put a little plywood bottom on them, and I made them so that they fit directly into this thing, and they are awesome. You know, and this is beyond, I mean, everything kind of worked out way too, I mean, I didn't plan this, but you can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes in this thing, and it fits almost perfectly. That was an accident. You know, this dimension I measured and made them that dimension. This dimension I just said, 3 inches sounds about right. It worked out like that, so that's unbelievable. Another pretty cool thing that happened by accident. So you got your box of nails out, or screws, whatever you want to have out here. They fit right on top of the plexiglass in between the frame. And that, again, sheer coincidence. I mean, I didn't plan that, but it sure looks like I did. So maybe I should just tell you I did. Anyway, that's pretty cool because, you know, you can bump into it, it's not going to fall off. Also, let's say, for example, so let me put this back in here. And let's say you're working with some screws. Let's say you got a bunch of these like 1¼ inch screws. Normally I would throw them here on the table as I'm like assembling something, and then you do something stupid like lay a piece of wood down on top of it, and it puts a big dent or hole in it because it got squished on top of a hard screw. Or you got a piece of wood here and you move it over here and it knocks all the screws, go flying on the floor over there, and you're crawling around underneath trying to find. Oh, well, look at this. This is another thing. So let's say you either got them in a box or just throw them on top of the plexiglass there. And guess what? The wood goes right over top because it's all below grade, and you're not going to knock anything on the ground. So you're keeping the dust out, keeping the screws out of the way. I mean, this is a win-win. I've never seen anybody do this, and I just thought I'd like build it. It seemed like a good idea, and then all these other things started happening, like the fortuitous sizing and the other added benefits of this like little 3/4 inch depression there for the plexiglass. This has like made the tool well like 5 times better than it ever was. So if you're ever wondering about whether you should do a tool well, I'm here to tell you, do a tool well. All right, so that's my Frankenbench, and it's a doozy. So leave some comments below. Let me know what you think about my crazy bench that wasn't supposed to be a workbench, but is a workbench. So, all right, check in again later.